What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Good morning, class of the glorious bastards. My name is FOXSOL, and welcome back to another video here on Lords of the Fallen. This is not your typical gameplay video that we're going to be running and talking at this time, but instead we are going to be discussing the bullshit of Lords of the Fallen. And what you see behind me, pretty much, of my avatar on your screen is three different categories with some different graphs going on. And we're going to go ahead. I'm going to explain each and every one of this, but this is basically to explain that the developers of Lords of the Fallen, Hexworks or whatever, clearly did not understand the true concept of this game. And what I mean by that is that legitimately there is an issue with the balancing of this game. I think everybody fucking knows this. It is not a secret whatsoever, and it's getting to the point to where this is getting much worse with each and every patch coming along. There's some people out there that, you know, say that I'm completely wrong, that I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, I'm here to actually discuss this with you, to show you my point of view. And if you still disagree with me on this, then by all means, you disagree with me. But the honest truth of all this is that the truth is the truth. This right here is a representation in graphs made on Microsoft Paint of New Game 0, New Game +1, and Dark Souls. Now, this is not accurate numbers. This is not an accurate graph. This is just basically a visualization of what I'm trying to get across. At the very bottom is where we're going to start here. We have the number 40, 75, and 95. 40 was the hard cap in Dark Souls. 75 would be the soft cap in Lords of the Fallen, with 95 being the hard cap in Lords of the Fallen to your attributes. Now, grant you health, endurance, other stats pretty much, but your damage attributes all have three different categories that we're going to look at. And let's go ahead. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to move this over. And let's take a look at New Game 0. Okay. The developers of this game, when it came to New Game 0, if we look at it in the sense that you start this game, you got to the point to where you got into your 30, 40 range on your character. Don't look at the yellow. Okay, we're going to go ahead and for right now on this, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead. We're going to ignore that real quick. Can I do this real quick? Make this white and then just cover this up. Oh, does it fill? I want to make sure this fills real quick, guys. Hold on. Oh, it's not filling. I want this to fill. Yes, make it a solid color. Okay, so that way we can hide this. The yellow is actually for a different purpose, and we'll leave it on the second graph, but I want to take this yellow part off because this yellow part actually is for something else in particular. In New Game 0, I'm not looking at your stats of like, you know, small stats of like level 10 or whatever in your strength or in your magic build or whatever. I'm looking at your 40 attribute, your 75 attribute, and your 95 attribute, your hard cap. So what I like to call recommended, soft cap, and hard cap. In New Game 0, in this game, when it came to bosses, we have two different life bar styles that we need to look at. The first life bar style would be your normal bosses. This would be basically your beginning bosses. I would say all the way up to the Hush. Yeah, probably the Hush Saint boss. That in reality, when you did damage at a basic level, this right here, you were doing pretty much around this level of damage right here. Give me a pencil. Pencil's easy. You're doing this much damage right here. Okay. So in reality, some fights would take, you know, 10 minutes or whatever, because you're weak right now. You're only like level 75, maybe a little bit lower than that by the time you get to the Hush Saint or whatever. And it takes about approximately, I would say, 15 good whacks with a sword. It would take 15 good whacks with a spell to kill a boss. That is, you're just starting out. You gain a little bit more in the game. You beat the game. You decide to restart new game plus 0. Now you capped everything that your damage scaling to 75. Now you're a little bit stronger. You got a good chunk more damage. So now here you're doing about, in all honesty, this bar probably should be extended a little bit. I do agree with that, honestly. This bar probably should be moved a little bit more, like right here. And we'll just extend it just a little bit. Just a little bit of a hair. Bear with me. This is Microsoft Paint. This ain't no graph fucking program. This is basic representation of what I'm trying to get across here. So here, I would say about, in all reality, you're looking at about, instead of 15 hits for 75, depending on how your build is, you're looking at a good straight up 5-10 hits, depending on your build. And then when you get to your cap level of 95, you can almost basically two-shot the boss. Now, with that being stated, I'm going to copy this over here. Control C, Control V. We have in this game, I think everybody knows, you have basically your rings. You have your ability to amplify your damage through other means than just straight up scaling of your attributes. So let's go ahead and Control V this. And this right here, this bar technically would represent, this yellow bar will technically represent that option. Okay. So we can amplify our damage a little bit. In all reality, you're going to be doing with amplification, maybe around, a little bit more. So that 15 hits or whatever. So the 10, 15 hits or whatever that you would be doing with your level 40 build, you just drop that down to a good couple of hits. You basically almost about two-shotting the boss right now at your recommended, level 75. And then at your hard cap, you're basically about to one-shot the boss. Now, builds are a little bit different here and there. Don't get me wrong. This is just a representation. Don't take the bar or whatever exactly as I'm talking about. Then we get to the next part, which, again, same principle. You put all your stats in right here. The bosses aren't that chunky or anything. You are doing a god amount of damage. I need to also extend this one a little bit too, because this one is going to be representing the latest updates, honestly. So you're doing a good chunk of damage still in late game bosses, and honestly, you're doing a heck of a good job. Okay. Be about right there. So keep that in mind, what I just showed you right here. Just keep that right there completely in mind with the bars right here and with the damage. When you move into New Game Plus 1 and further games, I haven't gone into New Game Plus 2, 3, 4, 5 or anything. I just went to New Game Plus 1, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's a chore. And the reason why it's a chore is because if you are at your recommended, if you're at the quote unquote recommended Dark Souls level, you just increase, how many hits you have to do on a boss. Now the boss is so much fucking tankier. Now the boss, is going to take, before New Game Plus, 0, it was like 10 to 15 hits. Now you just probably made it 25 fucking hits, anywhere between 20 and 25 hits. Same thing for the blue. Same thing for this. No, you're no longer going to be one-shotting a boss, whether it's a beginning boss or an end boss, depending on who they are. You're not going to really be one-shotting a boss like you used to in New Game Plus 0. So far, that's technically all right. until you get to the part to where you get to your late game bosses where your damage really means absolutely nothing no more. There is no reward. Now, some of you say, well, that's a challenge, the boss is this thing. The devs have lied completely throughout the patches. They have stated multiple times that we are not, changing the health value of the enemies unless we deem that it really is necessary. But we're changing more of the behavioral aspects of the boss. You'll hear this word in the patch notes several times. Is behavioral improvements. The behavior improvements. Every single patch so far has increased the health. It's an artificial, and I mean completely artificial, representation of a challenge. They are now boss sponges. Now, what ended up happening is that with this graph, this is more of a representation of the update before the 16th. I'm moving this bar up here and I'm going to come grab this. We're going to go ahead, copy this, put this down right here. Every single boss, as of right now in the game, has gotten a buff again to their health. We played this on the stream. We saw this firsthand all over again. This is now what we're going to call basically this right here. This is after patch and of after patch of 11.16. This was before, this one's after. Let me do something here. Every boss has now got an increasement in their health. Here's an actual proper representation. Here's an actual proper look at what you're actually now seeing. All right. Go ahead, copy this. Go ahead, delete this, Control V, come here, put this right here. Voila. And honestly, see this bar right here? Because even though I shrunk it some, even though I shrunk these some right here to represent, it's the same value. I want you to understand your damage is still the same value as this. It's just that this representing that the health value of the boss is bigger. Well, in reality, Monarch and some other bosses are a lot stronger. If you take a look at my last video, which was basically bosses are bullet sponges, you can see that I'm still doing my max build damage of 2,000 hit, and it's only taking this. Here is an actual representation at the very bottom of a boss bar. 2,113 damage. My character at this point in time in here, which I showed on stream, is at a level 342. My character has maxed out their 95 hard cap on damage with their Umbral build. Okay. They were one-shotting bosses in New Game plus zero. In this game now, in New Game, especially after patch 11.16, it is taking me multiple hits straight up to kill a boss. The Monarch boss in particular is taking almost 45 minutes, and I have to put him in a fucking stagger stance with a fucking crossbow and keep staggering him to death. With this fucking boss right here from the tower, I forgot what the name of the fucking ugly fucker is, his second phase. It wasn't that long. It was still like 8 minutes or so, but we counted. It was 32 hits. 32 fucking hits. Now, let me double check that because I think I still have the calculations on that actually. Oh, that's not the calculations. Give me 1 second real quick. Like I'm doing this live because it needs to be done live. Yeah, it was 32 hits. So approximately the way I look at it right here with the 32 hits that you see right here, 32 times 2. If I'm doing basically 32 hits on this boss right here, times that by 2 right there, that's 64 hits. It would take 64 hits at 75, approximately 64 hits, where this is taking me 32 hits to destroy this boss. Over here, fighting this boss, it was a 1 shot for this and maybe like a 4 shot for this. Now, I know it's going to be said, well, this is a Dark Souls and stuff like this, and it's still a challenge, don't get hit, be good. Let me explain something. The wheel was designed by From Software with Dark Souls, and I'm going to use original Dark Souls and what I know from it. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but this is what I put together as a graph. Okay. And you're going to notice that there's some little changes here to the bars. First and foremost, this is your first game. This is your second game, your third game, your fourth, your fifth, your sixth, and your seventh. After 7, that is it. It stays just like it is for the boss health. I have never seen anyone actually go past that and see an increasement. Basically, the entire game at New Game Plus 7's difficulty stays at 7. So if you go to 8, it's still at a 7 level. It's basically that is From Software's thing of going like, good job. You made it this far, you're doing good and everything. Now, with the hard cap of 40, you have rings. You have different other ways of building your build. This is where the yellow is going to come at here. Does anyone remember that, if you go into New Game Plus 2 and you go find the same ring, that the ring names change? It now turns into a +1. So it adds additional damage to your build, which allows you to increase your damage. Now, that might be a little bit too much, to be completely honest, but it allows you to go. And if I'm not mistaken, in Dark Souls, a lot of the rings capped at level at +3. So this is your maximum damage. This is your maximum build potential damage at a +3. Now, back then in Dark Souls, I really didn't play PvP, but from my understanding, talking to some people, like if you had a +3 ring and you did PvP, and especially in later Soul games, that actually didn't matter when you would do PvP. It only mattered in PvE. So we're only really talking about PvE. All of this is still at my recommended 40. Right here. And what do you notice? In reality, all the boss difficulty levels, their health levels basically only slightly garner a slight lead. They just get a little bit more beefy. They don't get extremely beefy right after New Game 0 to New Game 1. They get a little bit beefy. A little bit. And it gradually grows. Then you're able to collect your rings all the way up to +3. You're able to make your build perfect to where at that point in time, 4, 5, 6, and 7 is more of the challenge saying, hey, look, you got your stuff. It's maxed out. This is your maximum potential. But take a look. In all of reality, you're still able to get what I like to call a reward. I've known this from Bloodborne in particular. I have played Bloodborne all the way to New Game Plus 8, past 7. And I can tell you right now, when I would go find Rom, when I would go fight Rom, when I would fight the Umbral fuck at the end and everything, when I was still with my builds, I was still doing damage using this method right here. I still could see myself doing more damage in a new game to something like this. Or like this, depending on what my build was at the time, but I could still see that there was a reward. Looking at the screen, knowing that this is your maximum build, that this is the maximum output damage you can do with your attributes, with your accessories attached to you, and you only see a trinkle out of this large entire life bar, a trinkle of health being depleted. That is artificial difficulty. Dark Souls never relied on really artificial difficulty. You know what they relied on? Their bosses were hard as shit. You had to learn the animations to know when to dodge because they wouldn't do the same attack over and over again. It was random. You had to look out for key animations to dodge at the right time, to go ahead to block at the right time, to attack at the right time, to parry at the right time. In Lords of the Fallen, every single time I walk into the depths and I walk into the Howler's Den, first fucking thing she does is shoot a fucking arrow at me. Second fucking thing she gonna do is jump in the air. She gonna come running towards me with her sword. It's when I get her to about 1/3 health that she's gonna start jumping in the air and doing a little bit more different things. But ultimately, it's the same pattern over and over and over again. There is no true, they're going to do this 30% of the time. They're going to do this 20% of the time. They're going to do this almost 100% of the time over and over. It's not an actual random generation. Melania, you would be fighting Melania completely, and she sometimes will never do a one-shot on you. And some fucking times you go fight her when you die, and all she wants to do is fucking one-shot you with stabbing you in the chest. The only boss in Lords of the Fallen that has this complexity of an AI is the Light Reaper. I have not seen it with Pieta. I have not seen it with the Hush Knight. I have not seen it with the fucking Flesh Fucker. I have not seen it with the Judge. I have not seen it with the Monarch. Supposedly he's been reworked. He's more aggressive. The son of a bitch, I can completely stun lock him. Coming to the video that I had released today, looking at it, it's like in the second phase. And I'm not looking at the fucking cheese I'm doing. What I'm looking at is I'm looking at the damage. So you're expecting me to go ahead and eat with a damage build, magic build, and all this, dodge all his fucking bullshit, run around all the place, and sit here and feel rewarded that I am doing 2,135 damage on a maximum fucking build, with the rings attached to me, with a pendant attached to me to give me unlimited ammo, with the abilities, like I don't give a fuck if I threw a poison grenade at him. Someone go to, you can throw a poison javelin at him or whatever at first, and it'll deplete and it'll help in that regards. It's not going to do much more. This is not rewarding. I'm thinking about it like, okay, if I would fight him fair and square, straight up, and not cheese him like I'm doing, this fight will last 10 times fucking longer because I am doing what feels like right here in this stage. I feel like I am doing right now is like a level 5 damage, a level 5 character's damage who is at max fucking build against fucking level fucking 4,000 bosses. I don't know. So how can you express to me, this is the schooling for today. This is the schooling. How can you express to me that this is now a challenge? That this is not an artificial bullshit challenge? Why can I not rely on bosses that actually make me think, that they are patterns, that they're random, that they do things that make me have to dodge a certain moment? Why you're taking away the reward from me for landing a hit that actually shows substantial amount of damage? I don't know. But this is the schooling for today. I do apologize. We used Microsoft Paint, but this was a little bit aggravating to me. It's still aggravating to me that the devs think that, What truly matters in a game like this is straight up health buff. Health buff. Just buff the health. I agree that health in the New Game Plus One should be slightly buffed by 10% from what New Game Zero has. But you should also be able to buff my attributes to a certain degree, whether as to go get another ring that's a +1. Dark Souls didn't have this problem. What you should be working is on the behavioral improvements that you are lying about that has not been there, because every single fucking boss plays exactly the same that they did on day one release. They're not as aggressive, they're not any more aggressive or any less aggressive than they were. They're just tanky fucking bullet sponges. And if a maximum fucking 342 is in a New Game Plus One, cannot fucking basically two-shot a fucking boss. Because if I am 95 and I would be in this game right now in Dark Souls with the same aspect, I think from here, I wouldn't have trouble in 1. I would definitely not have trouble in 2. I would not have trouble in game 3. Game 4, we will be slightly having some trouble. Game 5 will be slightly some trouble. Game 6 would be still, a little bit more of a challenge. Game 7 is where the ultimate challenge would begin, but I would still feel that I am doing, I have just reward for the damage that I'm outputting on a boss. Seeing a trickle of health moving as if you're a level 1 character fighting a level 100 fucking boss is not fun. That's not a challenge. That's an artificial increase on a health to fake a challenge. Make your bosses smarter. Stop fucking treating the fucking players like we're fucking idiots. That's my word to the devs. You want to fix the game? Fix the game. Don't bullshit the player. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Thank you to all the new channel members that we have collected on the channel. And I will see you again next time in another schooling course here on Lords of the Fallen. Get you on the flip side. Peace.